Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a different type of video. I'm going to be doing just like a random little commentary on the back end of this. This is, as of recording this is the day of the Toronto-Atlanta game, which you guys are going to be seeing in the background. I actually simulated this game probably like 4 or 5 times, just out of curiosity, because I wanted to try to get the best type of gameplay, I guess, possible, because obviously FIFA is kind of random. That being said, this is an interesting game, and I will say the majority of the games went this way. Won't spoil what ends up happening. If you do want to skip to the end, you are absolutely more than welcome to. But this was an interesting game to watch. Of course, they're not the perfect lineups. They're, whatever FIFA decided to throw out there. So I think lineup-wise, Tito, Barco, Pity, Joseph, all starting in the top 4. Heinemann behind them with Nagby, and I think that's it, because I don't think Remedi's in the team. And then defensively, I believe it's a back 3. I think this is a 3-4-3 is how everybody is in the team. So you guys are going to see it here, though. So Pogba's in the team, Gressel, Nagby, Heinemann, Villalba, Barco, Martinez, Joseph, all making up the team. LGP and Robinson in the team. Although Miles is not going to be available for tonight, it is just another player that just got thrown in there. Toronto does not have their perfect lineup either. Westberg's in goal. It's kind of a weird lineup, but again, it's a simulation, so we weren't going to worry too much about going in and actually manually setting everybody's lineup to be perfect, because at the end of the day, we really don't know what lineup's going to be out there. But again, this is the day of the Toronto match, meaning the LAFC Seattle game was last night, which Seattle ended up coming away with the win. It was an absolutely beautiful game, honestly, from Seattle. It was kind of best scenario for them. It ended up raining in LA. Like, when does that happen alone? But to happen during a match against Seattle just seems like it was a perfect mixture of things to go wrong for LAFC. They definitely did not have enough of the ball. They made way too many mistakes. Not enough chances were made. Carlos Vela didn't look like he was having a good time at all that night. So it was just kind of a weird thing. And Seattle is definitely the type of team to pounce on mistakes, and that's exactly what ended up happening. So here you see Michael Bradley, absolutely beautiful shot here in the 7th minute of the game. Toronto already went up 1-0 in this game against Atlanta. So again, Toronto's very much the similar type of team as Seattle. They might not be the most prolific team in the league. They might not be the prettiest team in the league, but they are definitely a team that knows how to stay structured to the point that they can pounce on mistakes. You saw it very, very heavily against DC United, where it was a very close matchup for the majority of the game, probably a lot closer than it should have been. And the second that DC started getting impatient, Toronto ended up pouncing in that extra time, and it was an absolute disaster for them at the end of the day. So that's definitely where I am worried in this Atlanta game. I don't know if I see it going the exact same way as this FIFA game goes, but it is pretty similar, especially the way we're playing in the playoffs. Obviously, the Philadelphia game gives me a little bit more hope. Hopefully, Joseph's finishing is better than Philadelphia's, or the Philadelphia game, rather. And he's a bit more comfortable. I hope the team does attack as much as possible, try to get those crosses in, try to do everything they can to really push forward the envelope, I guess, in terms of trying to put as much pressure on Toronto as possible. It being a home game obviously is huge, and with Seattle winning, the MLS Cup would be in Atlanta if we managed to win. But it does still kind of have me a little worried, just because the playoffs haven't been perfect. It's definitely, I think, Taylor Twellman said it. It's weird because it's been a down year for Atlanta. Even if somehow we managed to come away with 3 trophies this year, it was kind of a weird down year for us. And the style of play is still coming along, but they're starting to get used to it a little bit. I'm curious to see what lineup does go out. I'm assuming it'll be a 4 in the back with LGP, or with LGP in the team, rather, because Miles is injured, is what I meant to say. I did see a video, I think Justin Miram posted, that Michael Parkhurst is almost basically fully healthy to play the game, but I don't think he would start. Mikey Ambrose played incredible against Philadelphia, and fully expect him to be playing on the left back position again, hence why I say they're going to be playing 4 in the back. So it would be super, super interesting to me to watch that game unfold. I will be in attendance, and it should be a really good game, and I'm really, really hoping that we do manage manage to get to the MLS Cup final, because I think it would absolutely be almost poetic if the two teams that we managed to beat for the MLS Cup are Portland and Seattle. It's kind of the teams that I guess we're most commonly connected with, or mirrored with, I guess, in the way that we've come up in the league. Obviously, I would say the three biggest fan bases probably in the league currently. LAFC obviously making a very good run there, but you know, they've split the fans with LA Galaxy still, so I don't know if it's a full team backing them, or a full city rather backing them, but it is really, really interesting watching LAFC come up, and I do hope with the teams we're bringing in next season that it does continue like that. But I also kind of wanted to talk about just how this playoff season has been going. Obviously, it is the new format. It is one game instead of 2 legs, which I was a little bit hesitant about, but it actually ended up turning out really well. I don't think home and away legs are super important in the MLS, mainly because, you know, the fan bases really aren't there. And I will say the one thing that I do wish they would have changed for this season, I guess, or just next season for the playoffs, is we've got to stop playing midweek games. It works for cities like Atlanta. It worked for LAFC, thankfully, last night because it was a conference final. But you just absolutely hate to see the stands empty, or even just slightly empty, during a massive playoff game. And on top of that, just the channel selection and TV right drama and whatever ended up happening. Obviously, the NFL is going on, NCAA is going on, the World Series is going on around the same time, so it is really, really hard to find, I guess, time to be on TV. But the fact that a lot of the games were on secondary channels. I think there was a game literally on, I mean, there were a couple games on Fox Sports 1, which is cool. Not great, but cool. Probably could have been on Fox, but I get it. They have, you know, TV requirements and lineups and everything like that as well. But you wish you could have seen it on Fox. Obviously, ESPN had their games, which was perfect. That's great. The Toronto DC game wasn't even available unless you lived in the DC market or the Toronto market, and which was ridiculous in my opinion. Like, how is that not a primetime game of some sort, even if it was going to be Fox Sports 1? Atlanta United was on Univision, right, or something. So it's just that's my biggest worry, I think, is these midweek games. The TV market's not really even getting a good enough chance to put soccer on TV. So that's my only gripe with the playoffs. I think it was a really, really good playoff season already. And obviously we do still have 2 games to go here for the playoffs. The MLS Cup will be on Sunday, which is going to be good. It'll be, I guess, almost perfectly in between football games. I'm not sure what channel it's going to be on. I'm hoping it's going to be on Fox after the 1 o'clock football game, whatever that ends up being. Especially if it is in the East Coast, then I would fully expect it to be in that 4 o'clock slot. But I think it might be at 3 o'clock, which has me worried that it's not going to be on Fox, which I think is a very, very big market to hit on a Sunday afternoon. But who knows? We'll see how that ends up going. All that being said, like I said, it has been a very, very good playoff season. I think the West, honestly, in my opinion, is a lot better than the East. But the East is a little bit better defensively, in my opinion. I think you see it with a lot of the high-scoring games that have been happening in the West. That does come down to good offense, but also bad defense. You have to give credit to both. So, but I think the West was just more entertaining to watch this year. Obviously, the DC United game was entertaining with Toronto. The Toronto NYCFC game was also pretty entertaining, not the best thing in the world. I think both of the Atlanta games were boring, in my opinion. Obviously, Atlanta had chances that kept us intrigued, but I don't think it was the most exciting game in the world. I don't think Atlanta's been playing the most exciting football in the world. That's Michael Bradley's goal again. Hopefully he doesn't score a banger like that tonight. Obviously, as you guys did see in this first half, I haven't really talked about the gameplay too much, but Toronto has the majority of the chances because they're the ones keeping the pressure. I left this game in. Look, I could have simulated this game 24 times over and only shown the Atlanta United win. That was like, I think 3-1, or maybe it was only 2-1. But all of the games were really, really close. I wanted to show kind of what maybe best but worst case scenario could be that we could end up having majority possession. We could end up working the ball around quite a bit, but not actually make chances because we're playing a little too slow, and Toronto's going to play a little too deep, because I do think that is something that could end up happening tonight. So if we do obviously end up winning this game, it would absolutely be massive to see Atlanta and Seattle go head-to-head. I think it's a storyline that's been 3 years in the making at this point. It kind of feels like a rite of passage almost to the extent that LAFC kind of had to go through their rite of passage. Maybe they did beat them during the regular season every single time up until this point, but if you can't beat Seattle in the playoffs, you're not ready to step up to that MLS Cup stage. So it kind of is a rite of passage. As much as I don't like Seattle, they're definitely not my cup of tea, but that's just more so coming as a Portland fan than anything. But Seattle and Portland, in my opinion, are kind of the rite of passage to prove your worth, I guess, in the MLS currently. I'd like to say LA Galaxy should be up there too, along with, like, Chicago Fire, and however you may see it with, the more historic teams. But currently, I don't know if you can really put yourself in a debate that they're the rite of passage to the MLS. But maybe you can, and it's maybe easier to get that rite of passage. Justin Meram is somebody I do fully expect to play in the game, to start in the game. He has been playing well. I do think he deserves a starting job tonight, but we'll see. With the lineup being the way that it is forward and back, I don't know if Meram will play or if it's going to be Barco. So it'll be interesting to see. Barco played okay. Pitti played okay in the Philadelphia game. Obviously, I think both of them could have played better. Pitti ended up winning man of the match, which I totally didn't agree with. I think Julian Gressler should have won it a million times over, but it is what it is. I think there is a very good chance that Atlanta could win this game, but I also think there's a very good chance that Atlanta could screw this game up. It is a game against Toronto, a game that I don't know fully bodes well for Toronto. Neither does the Seattle game, honestly. Seattle is unbeaten against Atlanta, but I think they've only played in Atlanta once, which was last year, or was that this year? Was Seattle this year? It might have been, but I think it's a game that we could do well against both of them if we play our game, if we don't try to do too much with the ball, if we don't try to play possession too much and too slowly. I think we need to work the pace. I think we need Pitti and Barco to both be running at full power. I think same with Joseph. If he gets his head down, he takes the team down with him at the end of the day. So that's just how it is. And that does have me a little bit worried. But again, this game's going to be super, super interesting to see. If we can beat Toronto, I fully expect that we can beat Seattle. I think they're kind of cut from the same grain, I guess, is the way that you could put it. They're both, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, not the best teams in the league, but they're pretty consistent and know how to structure well. That puts them in a really good place that that they can succeed and jump on other tendencies and weaknesses in other teams, which I think obviously defensively that does worry me. Pazuela absolutely terrifies me that he could pull a defender the perfect type of way, pull him out of position, and absolutely devastate us defensively. It does definitely have me worried, but I do think we have a decent enough defense that we should be able, as long as we can keep the ball correctly in the midfield, we will end up winning this game. If we lose, it's going to come off of either Barco or Pitti losing the ball. I say that, literally anybody in the midfield losing the ball, but those are the two that sometimes try too much in the midfield. Instead of passing the ball, they'll try the skill move, they'll try to get the foul, they'll do whatever they can, which is fine until the ref doesn't call a foul, like it happened in the LA-Seattle game last night. I think LA was trying too much for fouls, but they ended up not getting. It started making them discouraged. They felt like everything was against them. They weren't going to get calls, but Seattle really wasn't getting calls either. It was just kind of the ref was a hands-off approach on the game. I don't know for sure if that's what's going to happen tonight with Toronto-Atlanta, but if it does, Pitti and Barco cannot be trying to pick up fouls all night. If they do, we lose the game. It's going to be as simple as that. Toronto will be the more gritty of the teams, I think, if it does come down to it, and grittiness will end up winning the game. So if they lose the ball in the midfield, I don't know if defensively we are secure or structured enough to actually do well. So if we end up losing this game, it'll fully be because we tried to do too much in the midfield. That being said, we do need to work the ball forward. We need Gressel to cross the ball as often as possible. I think he definitely needs to start. As much as I would love to see Tito in the game, I don't see Tito coming in until second half unless we play a 2-striker set, which I would enjoy watching, but the playoffs is not time to experiment either. So again, I do fully expect us to run that 4-2-3-1. I would fully expect to see Remedi in the game, Nagy in the game, Barco, Pitti, Joseph, Gressel, like I said, Escobar in defense, who did play incredible, and he's, just a different animal. So it is going to be weird. I know obviously this gameplay in the background is not the most exciting. There's not a ton of goals, but I did want you to guys see the type of play that has me worried if Atlanta United's going to lose this game. It's a lot of midfield play. It's a lot of slow build-up. These are the kind of balls that I'd like to see. Obviously, Vasquez is on the field at this point, so he's not going to catch up to that ball. But I think there's a lot of good things to come from this game as long as we play our game. We play with the fast tempo. We still manage to keep possession, of course. We still are playing in Frank de Boer's team. It's going to be very possession based, but we need to play our speed, our style, and push Toronto. And as long as we do that, we should beat them and overrule what FIFA thinks is going to happen tonight. I will say that the majority of the games that we did simulate, Toronto did win, but I do believe that we can win this game. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to manage to be probably a 2-1 finish at the end of the day, with Atlanta United coming out on top just because we're playing at home. If we played this game in Toronto, I don't know if we would win it, but at home I do believe that we can beat Toronto FC and Seattle. So those are my predictions: 2-1 against Toronto in the MLS Cup. Give me a week and then I'll make a really good prediction on that one. But if you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and until the next one, I'll see you guys later. Peace.